The Nikon ZR is the perfect minimalist cam. You don't need an extra monitor because it has a 1000 nit LCD screen. You don't need a separate audio recorder because it has internal 32-bit float recording. You don't need an external battery because one of the regular EL15C batteries will give you about an hour and a half of runtime, which means often the best way to run the Nikon ZR is completely nude. But what about finding a set of lenses to pair with a ZR? Well, Nikon have a lot of great autofocus options. They make great lenses and you can use Sony glass with an adapter, but they are for the most part photography lenses. In doing so, you are missing some of the magic of what the Nikon ZR can do. This has been labeled a cinema camera for a reason, and while you can debate that classification, what you can't debate is when you use Red Code RAW in this camera, you are getting a cinema quality level image. And cinema cameras need cinema lenses, but cinema lenses are normally big, chunky, hefty, weighty, metallic monsters that really do not fit with the chic, minimalist aesthetic of the Nikon ZR. Put any regular cinema lens on the ZR and suddenly you've got an imbalance, even when using what would be considered a small cinema lens. Paired with a nude ZR, something doesn't quite add up correctly. Enter the Thypoch Simera-Cs from the sister company of DZO Film. So rather than ask, "Oh brother, where art thou?" it's time to sing it, sister. Now, if these aren't the smallest cinema lenses ever created, they are certainly one of. I mean, just look at them compared to some of my other options, including the dual lens APO primes, which previously I thought took the crown for compact cinema lenses. Well, there's a new king. Now, is it Thypoch or Thypoch or Thypoch, or if we're going Shakespearean, Thypocheth? I guess there's no way to ever know. And to be honest, sometimes it's nice to just keep things a mystery. With me, I have the 28 and 50mm. These lenses were loaned to me by Thypocheth, but sadly I have to give them back and no money changed hands. But I was very interested in reviewing these lenses because as the sun rotates and my game grows bigger, when I shoot on the ZR, I want to maintain that small figure. Because walking around with this setup will make you too swift on your toes to get caught up with other camera bros.
This is the Sony FX3 killer.
Now, I own a set of the APO dual lens and I like them a great deal. So to have another cinema lens set come into the market in a similar price bracket at an even smaller size makes things very interesting. And apart from the incredible size of these lenses, the other big selling point is the fact that they can stop down to T1.5, which a lot of similarly priced cinema lenses in the market just can't do. You just can't really get cinema lenses of this size letting in that amount of light. And as the OG lens reviewer Dustin Abbott would say,
have a great day and let the light in.
For some of that beautiful bokeh, or toner, as Casey from Camera Conspiracies would put it, these lenses will give you the most amount of toner, short of toner himself actually appearing in your images. And yes, with these cinema lenses, truly, the cinema is indeed ours. The Thypoch features a 16-bladed iris, which offer that smooth creaminess you associate with cinema lenses. They come in 21, 28, 35, 50, and 75mm focal lengths. The close focus on my two lenses are 40 cm, which is pretty good, considerably better than my dual lens set. On the 21mm, you get better close focusing at 23cm, and on the 75 it gets a bit worse at 55cm. They are not a completely uniform set in terms of sizes and weight. And curiously, while the 21 to 50mm have a 67mm front thread, the 75mm has a 72mm front thread. And the other anomaly of the Thypoch lenses is that while most definitely cinema lenses, they do not have the traditional cinema PL mount. They use Leica M mount. Fortunately, M mount, much like PL mount, can be adapted to most cinema lenses. I'm using a super cheap M to Z mount from K&F Concept, but you can get these really nice locking versions from Thypoch themselves, and the advantage of the M mount is that the adapter you require to fit your lens to your camera is significantly smaller than a PL adapter, thus maintaining the small size of the overall package. The focus throw is 210 degrees, which allows for very precise focus control, although it is perhaps a little too long for dramatic pull focusing given the size of these lenses. But we'll get into that a bit later. For me, the 28 and 50 are the perfect starting point. You can do all your wide work with the 28 and you can do your tights and close-ups with the 50. In my most recent feature documentary, I would say that these two focal lengths accounted for 95% of our shots when using the vintage Leica Almarit Rs. So if you were starting your collection, it would be these two that I'd personally recommend for overall versatility. Now, I've had them for essentially almost 2 weeks and have tried to throw them into a few different scenarios to see how they perform. I've used them just filming a few skits for the channel and really enjoyed using them. Again, it's the size of them with the ZR that just pairs so well. It's like complementary colors, the blend of flavors in fine cuisine, or if you've ever ate a potato chip and chased it with a bite of a chocolate bar. The ZR with these lenses is a match made in heaven. There's never not been a time where I haven't been impressed with these lenses paired specifically with the ZR, and of course to get the full effect shooting in R3D. They do in fact make my dual lens lenses look oversized by comparison, which is crazy because the dual lenses are also very small cinema lenses. Now, I did get to take the Thypochs out on a couple of shoots, and this is a corporate job I recently completed where I had the 28 as the wide and the 50 as a close-up. I'm using the S1H as the A cam and the ZR as the B cam, filming in NRAW. And as an interesting comparison, I came back for a second shoot day and used my photography lenses instead, but tried to match the focal lengths. So this is the 28mm on my Panasonic 24-60, while this is 50mm on my 35-150 Tamron Zoom. I hope even with YouTube compression, this gives you a good point of reference in understanding what you get from a cinema lens as opposed to a photography lens in terms of characteristics. It was actually really nice not to use my regular conventional zoom lens setup for the first block of shooting. Again, the 28 and 50 make for an excellent combo. Comparing them to the dual lens cinema lenses is a little tricky as I do not have matching focal lengths. On my dual lens set I have a 31mm and 58mm for the closest comparison. But looking at these side by side, you can see the dual lens is much warmer and maybe a little softer. This is not a scientific test as we have the sun going in and out of clouds, but just wanted to see what they look like in an uncontrolled environment and how they handle this flaring. Both sets are prone to flaring and washing out when the sun hits them, but the dual lens much more so. What I would say is that the Thypochs actually remind me quite a lot of my Contax Zeiss set when I compared them to my Leicas. The same characteristics are true here with the Thypochs, which are sharper and cooler than my dual lens, but still offer a very pleasing image that is modern but not clinical in my opinion. I have seen people discuss the fact that the lenses don't color match completely over the set. In my tests in the studio, they looked very much the same. Outside they did look different, but that could be entirely due to the sun being behind clouds, so it's actually very hard to say. We also haven't really talked about how affordable these lenses are, but they are some of the best priced cinema lenses on the market. You are getting a lot for a little, and while I am the savage filmmaker, as you may know, I am also very much the budget conscious filmmaker who is conscious of your budget and understands that even very affordable lenses for most people are actually a very big commitment. And so the Thypochs are a really good option, especially at the time of recording, as the Thypochs are running a Black Friday sale until December 3rd with 17% off their lenses and a bundle of the entire set that includes a heavily discounted Carter zoom lens, link in the description. But no lens is going to be perfect, and there's definitely some trade-offs in using the Thypochs. First of all, these do have noticeable focus breathing, very noticeable. Now, I can't say I ever really use them in scenarios where this would be an issue for me, but for some people it can be distracting and something that they really dislike. So you decide if that's a deal breaker for you. The second aspect is chromatic aberration. Now, I haven't done any specific testing for this, but I'm sure it will be there if you're looking for it, while the dual lens claim to be CA free. The mismatching filter thread of the 75mm is also an inconvenience if you want uniformity in your set. And I do think that currently the lineup is missing a really nice wide at say 14 or 16mm and a longer lens somewhere around 90 or 100mm to provide you the full breadth of focal lengths. And I'm not sure if more focal lengths are going to be in the works. And finally, maybe the biggest con to their lenses is also their biggest pro. Their size. Yes, it truly is the gift and the curse. While their size makes them very versatile for say gimbal work, for small setups, and for keeping everything lightweight and travel, it also makes it hard to, I guess, deck them out as you might a normal cinema lens. Put a matte box on this and you might find it bumping up against your follow focus, which could make things very difficult if you're trying to control that veiling flare in bright backlit scenarios. You can see my very small follow focus is right next to the step-up ring I'm using. So not having enough space to control your focus, control your aperture, and keep a matte box or ND filter on your lens is a very real problem here if that's how you might be intending to use them. So it's good to be aware of these issues when considering purchasing. What I would say is that these lenses, much like the ZR itself, have made creating fun for me because it's lowered the barrier to just getting out the camera and filming. I'm constantly compelled to film with these and make interesting things with them because I enjoy the look they produce so much, and they make my ability to get this look in a tiny package super easy. I think these are the perfect setup for those who want to use proper cinema lenses while keeping their actual camera setup very small and un-cinema-like. The anti-cinema camera cinema lenses. And look, I really can't undersell their ability to shoot at a 1.5 t-stop. This can be the difference between shooting in super low light scenes like these and just not being able to film at all. You just don't see small cinema lenses offer this ability, and neither my dual lens or Blazars can really compete in this area. It also allows you to get that fantastic separation between your subject and the background if you're looking for a bokeh monster. I also think that they are great entry-level cinema lenses for new filmmakers who want to experience what it's like to work with nice cine lenses and distinguish them from photography lenses and introduce this element to their narrative work. But they don't want to contend with the size and cost of more traditional full-size cine lenses. So if that sounds like you, then check out their current special and join the Thypocalypse. As always, I am the Savage Filmmaker, and I'll see you when I see you with that maximum tonne.